Hello and welcome. This is Jennifer Halliburton with the Awakened Gen Tarot. And today we're going to talk about something different than what I usually talk about, which is tarot. So today we're going to talk about autism. So April is Autism Awareness Month. And this is the first one that I am going to experience as an officially diagnosed autistic person. So I've known that I was autistic since fall of 2022. I realized it when I was 42 years old. And I just finally got the full diagnosis in October of 2023. I mean, it's a long process. So I wanted to talk a little bit about that today. And like the whole purpose of why I wanted to do this video is because, okay, if this is Autism Awareness Month, um, I'm thinking that we need to do a bit of a better job. If I went for 42 years being the autistic person and me not even realizing myself that that's what was going on with me, and the people around me not knowing that that's what was going on with me, like clearly we were not looking for the right thing. And I have four kids, and I definitely autism was on my radar as something to look for, especially when they were babies. We're concerned about the vaccinations and just are they hitting all these milestones at the right times. And so I knew that there were things that we were supposed to be looking for, and I was looking for the signs, but I just had no idea that as I was looking for the signs of autism, every time I was looking in the mirror, I was seeing the reflection of what it actually means to be autistic. And I think that part of the awareness that I would like to spread is that when I was looking at it before I understood what I was looking for, it was a scary thing that I was looking for. Like it was something that, like, if I found it, it would bring fear to me. So, I mean, it was just really an interesting perspective to find out what it is, after 42 years of living it. And like, oh, wait, that's not scary. That's not the bad monster that they made it out to be. And so, that's why I feel like, okay, I have a role to do in awareness as well. Because if we could have gotten it that far wrong, to have not even seen it, then, we need to let people know this is what autism looks like as well. And let me share what my version of autism looks like. So, what made me think that I was autistic? Like, how do you go that long? You don't question it for yourself, and then all of a sudden, oh, wait, I think I am. That feels strange. But technology just changed so much that it allows us to really see people at different levels now than what we've ever been able to see before. And so, like, because we have social media and people are expressing themselves and they're really sharing what their real life, experiences are, we had, these autistic people now starting to share, this is what life is like. This is what my daily life is like. And so they're explaining what their actual thoughts are like and what their struggles are like and what their experiences are like. And it's just like, as you start seeing these things over and over, you start kind of resonating and just like, huh, well, I do that. Okay, I've always experienced life like that. Or I thought I was the only one who did that. So you start having these thoughts where it's just kind of catching your attention enough to get you to just listen to that, shared experience. And, that's kind of what opened my mind up was as I started seeing what these other autistic people were expressing their lives to be like and understanding I can relate to a lot of that. And then another part of it, which goes way back. And I wouldn't say that this made me think this about me, but when I put these pieces together, it definitely helped me put my pieces together. is that my daughter, she's my youngest child. I absolutely had it on the radar with her. I didn't quite understand it because she is, very verbal and very intelligent, and and like that's the thing I think that we definitely don't quite understand is that sometimes those signs right there of a hyperverbal child who has the high intelligence is a sign, it's a flag that, should be, looked at. Because I was in the gifted program, at school. I am, very talented with writing and, just written communication and with words. Um, and that's part of how I was missed is just because how, those things weren't supposed to go together, but they are still there. The way that the spectrum of autism works is like, it is like a circle, it's not a line. And so, like, there's all of these different parts, that, make up what, autism is. Like, it affects you in the social area and it affects your intelligence and it affects your communication and all of those different parts, but they affect each of us differently. So, like, for the intelligence, on some of us, we go way high up on that, and some of us go way on the other side. On the communication, some of us go way hyperverbal, some of us go nonverbal. And, like the sensitivity, some of us hypersensitive, so some of us don't even feel pain at all. So that's like the spectrum part of it. Like I said, it's the collection of traits. It's not the severity of the traits. It's not like that's the differentiate that's the difference that we need to be looking at. And so I did have it on my radar that my daughter very likely was on the spectrum. I did not know enough about it to fight for this. I did not know, just when I would take her for, just anything, um, they just told me, she's intelligent. So like just we don't want to put labels on her. Yeah, she's got these quirks, but like we don't want to do the labels that would do more harm than good. I don't know. At this point we're just going with it just, I understood her very well. Thankfully, like one of my innate gifts is just I have extreme emotional intelligence, which is not typical for autistic people, but like that's one of my gifts. And so somehow I just innately knew how to help her. And because like, I mean, just from the time she was born, I mean, literally from the minute she was born, it was different. It was very different. It was a very different experience. And like she liked to be swaddled super tight, and like when she would get, into these meltdowns, I just knew like the best thing for her is to get her to like put her arms right here and bear hug her and just do this whole, rocking thing with her. So like I was those are autistic coping skills that I was already kind of like, I just realized this is what she needs. And it did, that is, what ultimately was best for her. So she was on my radar for a long time that she probably was. And as she got older, her behavior did get better. And like I've gone through my own stuff to where like I had to kind of focus on my health for a while. Um, and just thankfully she kind of leveled out with a lot of like the meltdowns. She had just really, really, really bad meltdowns. Um, she was the kid in the grocery store that was, screaming and flailing on the floor. I mean, it was bad. Um, so um, as social media started sharing more and more autism content, I was paying attention. I would say for a year, it started like just really being thrown at me. And, just like I'd go on TikTok, there it would be, or YouTube, there it would be. And it was just it's just getting put into my awareness. And if you understand like how the algorithms work, that's not even like That's not even a coincidence. There's a reason why it showed up for me. So it was meant for me to know. And I just kept relating so much to everything they were saying. And I knew like I need to take a test. I need to take a test. But no, I just still had some sort of block in my mind about what autism meant. And so I just like there was still something that was holding me back from even being able to even admit that I was curious that I might be autistic. That just there was still something that felt wrong even about admitting that I was curious about that. But there was one day that this video came up that was like a 10 finger down video. And like by the time it was over, I had all my fingers down and she had even more questions than just 10 questions. So I mean like I could have put all the fingers down. And again, this was about autism and I was like, you know what? I need to just check this out. And so I looked up just if there was any online, you might be autistic screening. And I found the site Embrace Autism. And they have so many online tests that you can do. So, like, if you're really not interested in getting the full diagnosis, if you just want to know for yourself, I would say go to this site, embraceautism.com, take the tests that are on this site. I mean, like, I mean, just they're good. They have so much information there. So that's what I did is I went to that site first and I took a couple of their quizzes. And I think the first one was probably the AQ, the autism quiz. And I really thought that once I took it, that it would be just like right on the border. Like, yeah, you might be, but you might not. You could just be dealing with this, or it could be, something else. I really didn't expect it to be like I did I don't know. But when I took that test, it wasn't even a close call. Wasn't even a close call. Like, so then I went and I took another test. And again, it wasn't even a close call. And so like I kept taking all of these tests and it was just like, oh my goodness, this is this isn't playing anymore. Like this is for real. Like I need to take this serious. This could be something that I need to look into as a potential answer for a lot of things that I have dealt with in my life that I didn't even understand were related or connected in that way. And so that's, what led me to schedule the um, assessment. And so I got the assessment in December of 2022, which told me that, yeah, you're autistic, but they couldn't say it without the full diagnostic process. And so they invited me at that point to go ahead and schedule for the diagnostic interview that took a whole year from there before, I was able to get in. So, and I mean, and that process was not covered by insurance. I paid complete out of pocket for it. So it was like $1,500 by the time all was said and done to get to the point of being told in October of 2023 that yes, I was autistic. Because I mean, like, once I realized, like, the moment I took that test myself, I knew that. Because I mean, it was just like I'd already been putting the pieces together. So the minute that I got to the point where I took the test, I had already known it. And then just like the test after test that continued to like, I knew it. But yet I still needed, the solidness like of somebody outside of me because there's something, with autism that causes you to not trust yourself, because you're told your whole life, and especially if you're an undiagnosed autistic person, you've been told your whole life that the way that you experience the world is wrong. And so you're not going to trust yourself. You need somebody outside of you, to kind of help you know that, yep, you're seeing that correct. Yes, you heard that correct. Yes, it just, I'm constantly looking for that, just external. Is that how you saw this situation? Are we on the same page? I'm constantly looking for that. So the next question, um, is how did I feel about it once it sunk in that this is, true for me? How did I feel to know that I was autistic? And I mean, it is an existential crisis. Like you go through your whole life all over again. Like you relive all of these big moments of your life all over again now through the lens of autism. Like now you're seeing like, oh, okay, now I understand why that happened that way. I understand why that person reacted that way. I understand why I looked like that in that situation. Like I can look at all of these situations and I see this is what happened. I'm able to understand my life in a way that I have never been able to understand before. Like I knew that this is how I felt. I knew that this is how I acted. I reacted, but I've never had actual validation that this was a real thing, that other people did this too, and that, there's reasons why I do, life the way that I do it. So, I mean, it was a very surreal feeling. I can't like, there was grief. There was a lot of grief of just like, whoa, because you're now looking at the younger version of yourself as this autistic person, that who was just trying to figure life out without much help at all. And like, so you have a lot of grief for, just the extra struggles that this person went through that they probably wouldn't have had to go through if they had been understood for who they are. But then, like, there's also, like I said, I got to understand myself just like better than I have ever in my whole life. And so I got to see like really what my strengths are. And I do have a lot of amazing strengths that come with being autistic. Like the way that my brain works is really amazing and it's a gift. And like when people understand like how it works and how to um best like support that. Like, the gift that autistic brains can bring to this world. I mean, like, we really do change the world, we innovate the world with the way that our brains work. And so, like, there's a lot of pride in that part too, is to understanding, like, wow, okay, so that's that's a special part of me. That's something that I came to this earth to bring. Like I can take it like that. And so like there's different ways. I didn't ever really take it like, oh, it was a bad thing and my life is now going to be bad, because I had already been living as an autistic person my whole life. I just didn't know it. I had already been dealing with the impact of being autistic and didn't understand why. Like, so, like, that part, I didn't feel like that it was going to be worse because I already was. It wasn't like any part of that changed. The part that changed for me is understanding who I am now and why I'm like that. And I give myself a lot more grace than I would have ever given myself before. When I do feel that, just, like that's taking my breath away. Like because I will still go nonverbal. And like, there's been times in the past where I would have beat myself up, for not being strong enough, to, overcome that. But now I understand what happened, and I don't have to feel bad about like that's just this is just part of being autistic and understanding how to manage those aspects of me. So what was the diagnostic process like? I've already talked about it a little bit. um, I started with the assessment, and so the assessment was just taking a lot of those same online tests It was a lot of those same tests. I mean, just tons and tons and tons of testing. Um, I get probably 10 different tests. And then it was a waiting period of at least 4 weeks before I heard back whether or not, like I was going to move forward to the diagnosis part. And so that was a long period. Like, especially if you are autistic, like your brain is just like once you're kind of on something, it is on something until there comes a resolution. And so, like, not knowing that period of waiting and not knowing for sure, for sure, for sure was really, really hard. But I mean, thankfully, it showed up and it did confirm that I was very, very probable autistic. And so, I mean, like, that's all I needed is someone outside of me to look at the same things I was looking at and come to the same conclusions that I was coming to. I did still move forward with the full diagnostic process because I did want to go ahead and have it in place just because I didn't know. I didn't know um, just if it was something that I might need. Um, I also know that, again, I wanted that complete full assurance for myself that there was no way at all that I could be making it up or, just like have seen it wrong. Like I needed the full verification. So that's why I went ahead and went with the diagnostic process. But um you schedule it and then you just wait. I mean, it's just wait and wait and wait and wait. And so you get to the point where you just kind of forget about it. And I'm going to say, like, if you got to that point where you're moving forward to the diagnostic process, I was already treating myself as if. Now, I wasn't like full, like speaking about it out loud, but I was the people around me. I had already pretty much told most of those people that this is what's going on, and I was already treating myself as if. Because I mean, if it helps make your life better, why wait? Why wait until you get someone who is outside of you who will never know your experience as well as you know your experience? I mean, and it is a self-reflective process. The whole thing really is because, I mean, all of these tests are making you have to really think hard about how you experience the world and how you really think through, just everything. It was, I mean, just enlightening. Like, it was long. I wish it was a easier process, a shorter process. Um, but, like, I learned so much from it, and I do feel like that it was beneficial for me, and I used Embrace Autism, to go through my diagnostic, process because it is hard, for adults in particular to be able to get access to, autism treatment and screenings. Alright, so why did I get the diagnosis, and do I recommend it to others? So, again, I got it mainly because I know that I needed somebody outside of me to say it. I needed to hear it from somebody outside of me. I needed to see it on a piece of paper. I needed that full verification just for my mind to put it to rest because it would just continue to keep looping forever for me until I got to, an answer for that. And I mean, like, I became very obsessed for quite a while, just like because my brain just wanted to know so bad. Is this true? Is this true? Is this true? Because once I know that it's true, then I know what to do with it. And I mean, I also, because it's very common with autism, I have OCD, and so like that's, yeah, the intensity of that, just like it needed to know. So that was like the big part is it's just I needed that full verification. And then in case I needed it for anything, in the future, because I'm not married. And so like I need to make sure that I am protected if, something comes up and I'm not able to work. Um, so I just needed different options. Um, do I recommend it to others? That is a very personal decision. So, like with my daughter, I still think that she is. I haven't taken her to get a full diagnosis yet. I've asked her, like, what do you want to do? You know, how do you feel about this? And so, I mean, she agrees with me that she probably is, but she feels no need to have the no of that, like she doesn't like, so if it's not going to greatly improve your life, I don't think that it's necessary. Like if you can do things that are going to be, improving your life, just little workarounds, whatever, those may be. Like, I mean, just workarounds that I might use are like the lighting, if lighting is an issue for you, you get specific lighting to help you out, or earphones, whatever, those types of things. I would go ahead and do things like that because you don't need a diagnosis to be able to treat yourself in that way, because it's not like the diagnosis gives you anything magic at that point. It just tells you whether you are or you aren't from an outside person's perspective. So, I mean, it's a very personal decision. So if you need it, and especially if you need it because you're trying to get, disability or any types of extra support, like if you have higher needs, um, then I mean, obviously it's beneficial. But if it's just, a curiosity thing, like if that's literally the only thing it's going to solve is just the curiosity, you know yourself well enough. I mean, like you go through these questions and just don't lie, and then you're going to know. Um, so I don't think that you have to have the full diagnosis, to know that, you are, you know, autistic. I mean, I definitely knew before I had the diagnosis. Once you understand really what you're looking for. And I mean, like, you're not going to be looking for it if it's not impacting your life. So that was another thing, is like I was already in this mode of uh just really trying to heal and get to the bottom of, like just things that have been lifelong issues for me. So like when you're digging that deep into yourself, you're bound to find something like this if it's there. So, what were some early childhood symptoms that I dealt with? So, the biggest one that made me know the most was that I would go mute as a young child. And like I'm thinking like 8 or 9, up until the age 8 or 9, this was pretty significant for me, that I could only speak when I was around my immediate family. So, like, we would go visit my extended family that lived, like hours away from us, and I only saw them once or twice a year, and I could not speak. I would just, and so I would get called extremely shy. Um, but I mean, it was more than that. It was way more than just being shy. Like, I literally couldn't speak. And like I struggled with like my mom said she had to keep trying different milks, different formulas, because I just struggled with all the different formulas. I think she ended up with like goat's milk. Um, she also would always talk about that when I was a baby, just from the time that I was born, like that I was pretty self-sufficient, like that she could sit me in a corner and I'd just entertain myself for hours. Like I didn't need other people to entertain myself. I was okay being independent. Um I'm trying to think what else might have been. As far as like friendships, I never really made friends easy, but it didn't feel like an issue to me either, because I was okay being by myself. So like I don't think I thought that it was an issue. But like in my autism diagnostic interview, I was telling her about um this picture from my kindergarten class, and so, like, it was just so like, this was me, as a child, and so you have this picture that has the whole class, on this jungle gym, and you have to hunt to find me because I'm, like, literally right at the bottom, of this whole picture. Everybody else is out front, they're, like, just all waving, and I'm just, like, hiding just down at the bottom all by myself. Like, if anybody knew what autism was, they would have seen it right there. Because I mean, there she was. And, like, in fact, before that picture was taken, I was on that jungle gym by myself. Everybody was off playing, wherever, and I was just very happily playing by myself, and then they thought it would be fun to bring everybody else over onto me, which that was not, as fun to me as what they acted like that was supposed to be. Um, but yeah, like, so that was, like, a clear sign right there too. It's just how I was not part of the group. I really wasn't. And then I mentioned it earlier that I was in the gifted program as a child, and so, like, I had to take an IQ test. I think it was in second grade, I think. And I didn't know anything about what they were trying to do. I just answered the questions, and the IQ tests are about patterns. It's patterns, and so, like, it makes sense that an autistic person would score very well on a test that is about patterns. Um, and so that did get me put into the gifted program. Um, I've always been very good at written communication, very terrible at verbal communication. The verbal communication is the part that would shut me down. And, like, for friends, I would have, like, one friend at a time. Like, I would attach myself to one person, and that person was, like, my safety and protection. And so, like, my friends were where whoever their friends were, because it was just my focus was that person. It was just I usually couldn't handle more than just one person. So, let's see, what are ways that it shows up now that I am an adult? Um, so I still have the eye contact thing that I didn't even really know was the issue that it is for me. So, a lot of times, when I'm talking, I do look up, look off, and um, I have enough ADHD people in my life now to know that it's happening because I'll look off and then they'll turn their head and I'm not looking at anything. And that's something that I've kind of learned about autism is that, like, when we're looking off like that, or when we close our eyes, when we're talking, we're actually taking down the amount of information that's coming to us because we're always taking in so much information all at the same time. So I'm trying to focus on, this communication. And so I'm being distracted, with my eyes open by everything that's around me. And especially if there's people that's, just like it even greater. So, when I move my eyes, it is literally about reducing the amount of information that I'm taking in so that I can keep the focus on the words because there's some sort of disconnection that it feels like between the words that I have in here and trying to get them to come out of my mouth. Um, Other ways that it shows up now is like I stay cold all the time and I still struggle with foods and sensitivities and textures and sounds. I still struggle with relationships and like especially for um undiagnosed autistic adults, you are at risk of being in abusive relationships. You are at risk of having sexual assault. You're at risk of eating disorders. You're at risk of anxiety, depression. Like I have been through every bit of it. And it's just, it's because you don't know that, like, you aren't on the same playing field as the whole rest of the world around you. Like, you are misunderstanding, or they're are being misunderstood constantly. Like, you went into a situation, thinking that this was what was happening. And they had this whole other idea of what was happening, because this is the double empathy problem that comes in, is like, this reality is so real for me that I think that it's the only reality that could possibly exist. Same for this one. This reality is so real for me, I can't even imagine any reality outside of that. And so we can't even come close to understanding, between the autistic reality and a neurotypical reality. And so it's just being misunderstood all the time. Um, and just constantly questioning, did I do this right? Because the way that I think that it should be done is not necessarily the way that other people think that it should be done. The majority of people think that it should be done. So I mean, those are definitely ways that it still shows up. I would say, also, autistic people have, like, unequal skills. Like, it doesn't make sense. Like, they can be just phenomenal in these really crazy areas of their life. So, like, we're talking like, the mathematician, like, that they're just a genius, or in, music in some way, or something. Like, they just have these incredible talents, and these big areas that are hard for most people. But then we have things like talking on the phone can make them go into tears. It just, and that's easy for most people. And, like, it doesn't make sense, but that's definitely, a me thing. Like, I don't know why when I am on the phone, like, all of a sudden, like, like, my brain just stops working. Like, I just completely, like, it goes black, and it's just like panic. That's just panic. And so I get through the conversation and I'm just like, oh, I just, please get this off of me. I don't want to ever do that again. Like, that's how bad it is to talk on the phone. But yet I can build, these computer systems. And, I know, like, I'm known for being very technologically advanced, and I'm known for, being very articulate with my words, and, having all of these high level skills, but at the same time talking on the phone and, like, having to make an order, like, oh my gosh, that can send me into, um and, like, even grocery shopping. Like, every time I go grocery shopping, whenever I pass somebody, I always, like, so I've got my buggy and somebody's, and I just, every time, every time. So, I mean, it does still show up. I didn't realize that I did have, as flappy hands as I do have. And I think that I probably am unmasking more, because I was very highly masked. And masking just means covering up the autistic traits. And why would you cover them up? Because you've been made fun of. Because you've been made fun of at some point. So, like, I have a blanket, with me at work, that I sit under a blanket every single day at work. But yet, as a young child, when I walked around with my blanket, I was made fun of, and that was something bad and wrong. I am an adult now, and I get to decide that, yeah, you know what? That brings me comfort. It feels good. I'm just going to do it, because what does that hurt somebody? It can help me. It can bring comfort to me. So there's no way, like, that, you know, I'm going to let someone else tell me that I can't do that now. So, um, those are ways that it shows up. I do get terrified every time I have to have a live communication with somebody. So, like, even like, when I go live on the channel, or when I do the Zoom calls, or, even when I meet, somebody in person. Like, it's scary for me. It's really hard for me to be comfortable with complete strangers. Like, I need, because I like something that I do a lot. Like, I've always done this. If I'm going to write a message to somebody, I am going to reread that message like a billion times, like trying to think of every way that they might could take that message, because I want it just like here's my intention of what I'm trying to say. There's like, and it's hard to do that for complete strangers. And so that's really scary, to put yourself out there, like, to people you can't, you have no idea, like no gauge at all of, eh, like, where's this going to head? How is this going to end? Because I mean, that's clearly something that's very important, at least to me as an autistic person, is I need to know where this ends. I'm like constantly like scheduling things, in my head. Okay, so like if we're going to do this, it like I'm just planning the whole thing. It's a constant schedule running in my head. Um, do I wish that I had been diagnosed earlier? So, I mean, the answer is no. The answer is no, especially just because of, if I had been diagnosed in the 80s as a little girl, um, I don't think that it would have been good for me. I don't think that it would have. I think that it has been hard for me. I've definitely dealt with a lot of struggles that, I wish that I wouldn't have had to deal with. But because I never thought that I was any different. Like, I just pushed myself and I allowed myself to do and to grow and to be. And I am afraid that if I had been held back at all, like if anybody had just really thought, oh no, 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 we've got to put guards around her, because my brain does go, whoo, it has these big ideas about, where it wants to go and what it's able to do. And I think that if anybody had tried to just kind of like, it would have been harder for me. I think that I would have went into a depression that I probably wouldn't have been able to come out of, and I would have just accepted that I was not able to do anything. I think that that's the path that that would have taken me, and I know that that's not the path that was meant for me. So like I see it more that I have superpowers that have come from this, and I don't mean that in like, it just I just that's the way that I choose to look at it, is that it gave me extra abilities that, most people don't have. And so there's got to be a reason why I was given, these extra sensitivities and just these extra, ways of experiencing and looking at the world. Like, one of the things that I get told a lot, and like I've seen it in a couple of different ways, but I think that for the most part, this is something to appreciate more than not, is that I am not quick to react. I need to understand things because I don't understand my feelings right away. Like, I can know I'm having a big emotion. I can know, like, ooh, I don't like the way this feels. I just but I won't know what to do with it. So I mean, sometimes it takes days to weeks, for me to get there. And it's hard to be in relationships, when you've got somebody that moves that slow to knowing, like, oh, here's what I need to do with something. But it also can also protect a relationship too, because you're not being just completely reactive and impulsive. Because, like, by the time I get to the point that I'm doing something, I have worked through just like everything about it to, like, I have just turned it every which way to fully understand, okay, this is what I believe has happened. And I can't come to any other conclusion. This is what has happened. This is what I feel about what has happened, and this is why I feel this about what has happened. So I'm like, I'm going through and I'm doing all of that work of trying to get to understanding, okay, putting all those pieces together. So once I get down there, then I decide, okay, is this something I need to do something with? And if so, what do I need to do? I mean, but can you imagine if everybody went through that process before we just acted on things? Just because something made us feel like something, we don't have to do something right then. But see, like, the people who have bad intentions for you, that frustrates them. It very much frustrates them. They want you to, don't take time to think about this, you know? And I can't help it. I have to go through the process of thinking about it. But then it leads to, situations where, like, I'm being told, "Oh, well, you're just bringing up the past. I thought we already dealt with that." No, we didn't deal with it. I was still dealing with it, like in here, like it was still going. Um, and it's just knowing that. All right. So, what do I hope that people take away from all of this? And I think just the thing is, it's not a bad word. It's not a bad thing to be autistic, and that it's not something like I'm actually proud, that this is who I am. The more that I have learned, about what it means to be autistic, and I see those traits reflected out, in me, like I'm proud of that. Like, when I learned that one of the top traits for autistic people is honesty and fairness, like I love that. I love that. That's, a trait that is part of just who I am at my core. It's just I'm an honest, fair person. And I mean, we do. That's why we have such strong sense of justice. We want things to be fair for everyone. Um, so I don't see it as a bad thing. I think it's, something to be understood. It's a different way of experiencing the world. I do think that there are people who definitely they struggle a lot more. Um, they're the higher support needs. But I mean, I think it's more about understanding what their life experience is too, so that, we can see how the world is kind of failing them. Like if the world was set up for autistic people, like what does that look like? Like if that was the majority, how much different would the world be? And some of my favorite creators, autistic creators that I follow, actually, they do skits that are, living life from that perspective as though, autism was the normal. Because I mean, it's only considered wrong because it's not the majority. And that's the thing, is that a lot of the autistic people, they wouldn't trade the way that they are. They like, that, the way that they see the world. I mean, like, if you ever feel the experience of getting just like swept up in your special interest, and you just that hyper focus of spending hours in your special interest learning and growing, like it's amazing. And just seeing just the way that that they can light up, when they're talking about these things that they have just such a deep passion for. um there is a lot of beauty in the autistic perspective. And so like I am proud, to get to be part of that experience in this world, to get to, share what that is with others, to be that reflection for people. Um so I'm definitely planning to talk more about it, especially this month with it being the Autism Awareness Month. So if you do have specific questions or any topics, that are on this that you would like me to go deeper with, let me know. Because, like I said, I do have, I mean, just this is one of my special interests. So I could talk for a long time on this. And I've got all of the tests that I've done. So I'd love to do at least one video where I'm kind of showing the different tests that I did and explaining, what different ones mean and just showing where my scores are versus what's the threshold because it that was what really like opened my eyes was just like, oh my gosh, I'm like not even close to that line of the threshold. I'm like way over there. It's yeah. So and I mean, it's just given me a chance to fully understand me. So I'm thankful that technology has come as far as it has and that people are speaking up and that they're sharing their voices. And so, like, I'm just going to add mine out there, and hopefully, the right people who need to hear it will find it and it will take them down, the path to their own discoveries. All right. So, I hope you guys have an amazing rest of your day. I'll see you next time.